do I think Royal Caribbean will increase gratuities soon, like Celebrity did? You know, it's interesting. I thought about this a lot over the weekend because Celebrity announced last week that they're going to increase gratuities beginning tomorrow. But when Celebrity did it last time in October, Royal did it on the same day, and we're still like a week since then. Nothing's been. So who knows? I don't know the answer, Steve. But it's curious that only Celebrity announced it, and there wasn't a Royal announcement. It's been more than like a week now. So I don't know. It's a good question. Do you print luggage tags in color? Yes. I will. I will print. Given the choice, if we have color ink, I will absolutely print them in color. There's not printing the luggage tags in black and white isn't a problem. I've done it many times in black and white. The luggage has found its way to my room, but if you got the color ink, you may as well use it. I know color ink costs more and all that stuff, but I would say, to answer your question as directly as I can, Michael, I definitely print luggage tags in color as my primary choice. Let's put it that way. Any advice for a last minute booking? If you're doing a last minute cruise, again, it depends on how last minute we're talking about. But I would say a couple things. Number one, this almost goes without saying, do your online check-in immediately. Do all the things that I usually would tell you to do. You got plenty of time to do that. Do it as soon ASAP. Online check-in, book shore excursions, drink packages, dining packages, hotel, airfare. You've got to, again, depending on how last minute we're talking about, if it's a matter of weeks, I would definitely say you got to book those things like wham bam, thank you, ma'am, as fast as possible, because it really makes a difference a day versus another day. So you want to get those things locked in, especially shore excursions, your check-in time, and any entertainment that's still available for you. I think it's very important. So definitely clear everything off the cruise planner, do your online check-in, obviously your flights and travel to get to the cruise ship and back and forth would be good to do there. Again, it depends if we're talking like 30 days, 45 days, 12 days. Yeah. How does the updated Giovanni Italian kitchen compare to the old Giovanni's table? Is it worth trying again if we didn't love the original? Yes. In fact, I would say, Lauren, the new one, in your exact scenario, it is absolutely worthwhile to go for the new one. I love the new one. I think it's a major upgrade over the old menu. I did like the old menu, but I think the new one it's a bigger menu. It's a wider selection of options. I really like the pizzas they offer with the new Giovanni's table. I think it's absolutely worth trying. Yeah, definitely give it a go, especially if you didn't like the old one. Are the bunk beds in spacious staterooms large enough for an average sized adult or just big enough for children? The ones that I have ever been in and my kids have stayed in, I would say is definitely more for kids. I don't know that I've never tried fitting in them. I think I probably could, but it wouldn't be, I don't know how comfortable it would be, quite frankly. Again, I haven't tried it, Carrie, and I've stayed in a number of these types of cabins. We just did one actually when we were on Navigator of the Seas. They had these. I wish you'd asked me back then. I could have hopped in there and seen what it was like. But yeah, they're definitely more kid focused than adult focused. Let's put it this way, Carrie. If you and I were sharing a cabin, I would not necessarily want to share a cabin if that was my bed off the bat. I know they have bingo on the ship. Can you explain how much it typically is and what is included with the price? It depends on the ship. Some of them have there's various tiers you can get, right? The base tier is one card with, and you got to pay for a dauber, by the way, so bring a dauber. Then you can buy the one that comes with 10 cards per game. And then on some ships, not all ships, they have an electronic version. You get a tablet, you put it down, and then you just fold your arms and it does it all for you, which isn't quite fun, but it does play every single one for you. Anyway, it depends on the ship and the cost. It ain't cheap. A lot of people think, oh, bingo, that's an easy, low-cost way to gamble. I mean, you buy those packs, man, and you get the dabber, you're in for it quite a bit. It ain't cheap, especially if you're trying to get one for you and your kids, and that, it adds up, but it's fun. What are some free things to do with Coco Keys? We actually have a whole video here on our channel all about that, but essentially all the beaches, Oasis, all the beaches minus the Coco Beach Club, Oasis Lagoon, Splashaway Bay, Captain Jill's Galleon, all the food except for the Coco Beach Club and Captain Jack's. Obviously, the bars are cost extra, just like they do on the ship. The excursions cost extra. The water park costs extra. The zip line costs extra. The helium balloon costs extra. That's basically but you can go to a number of the beaches. You can go to the Oasis Lagoon pool, all included right there. On embarkation day, I want to avoid the Windjammer. What other restaurants do you recommend? Ooh, a great alternative is Park Cafe. So go to Central Park, and there's Park Cafe over there. They have sandwiches, they have soups, they have salads. It's far less crowded than the Windjammer, and it's complimentary as well. Great choice for you. If you're willing to pay extra, then I would recommend Giovanni's Italian table or kitchen, excuse me. That's wonderful. That's open for lunch on embarkation day. We actually did that the last time we were on Wonder, I believe. That's where we ate on embarkation day, or like one before. I don't know. One of those sailings we did that. It was a nice way to start the sailing. So yeah, Park Cafe if you want something complimentary, or Giovanni's if you're looking to pay a little extra for a meal over there. When does Royal Caribbean start disembarkation times trying to plan transportation home? So this is a harder question than it sounds. It depends, and I caution you not to make anything that firm. The reason why is because there's a lot of factors that influence what time you can actually get off the ship. Number one, what time does your ship actually get back into port? Number two, when it does get into port, it has to be cleared by local authorities, right? So the Coast Guard in the United States has to clear it. In some cases, it's just like, no problem, you're good to go. Other times, they do very in-depth searches and inspections, and that can take a lot of time. More often than not, a majority of the time, it's a pretty quick procedure, and usually the disembarkation process begins as early as about 7:30 a.m., maybe a little earlier than that, 7:15, but it can really vary. And I've been on ships in which it's been a little more backed up. So you got to make sure whatever plans you make, especially if you're getting like a car service or something like that, you have some flexibility and they understand that here's the time I'm going to try to get off the ship. But I can't promise you that. And on top of that, of course, it's whether or not you're taking your luggage off the ship with you or not. There's a lot of factors involved. So if I were you, assuming you're not, well, I guess it doesn't matter. I would say, 8 o'clock is usually a good time. I mean, it's pretty rare that they wouldn't have started it by then, especially if you're taking your own luggage off the ship. 8 a.m. is usually a good bet right there. So our Bahamas sailings fairly calm around November. It's hard to make generalizations like that, James, because it's like me telling you wherever you live. I don't know where you live, James, but I'll say, hey, James, I'm going to come visit you in November. Let's say, November, is it going to rain? Well, you're going to say, well, it could, right? Maybe, maybe not. Same kind of thing. Again, technically November is still hurricane season, so there's a possibility of a storm. But it could not. There's no, just like anywhere in the Caribbean, you just can't predict it. This is a question. I'll expand your question because a lot of times people ask me, what's a good time of year to go on a cruise where you can basically expect calm seas? And the answer is there is no time of the year in which there's a guarantee of that, right? There are times of the year maybe where there's less of a chance. As an example, if you don't go during hurricane season, there's a much better chance you're not going to run into a tropical storm. That doesn't mean, by the way, there still can't be a storm, not a tropical one, but just a storm and high waves. I've had pretty bad weather in February, and that's not hurricane season. So the bottom line is don't book a cruise based on what month of the year might or might not have better sea conditions. It's too general, it's too vague, it's too variable to make that kind of conclusion. Do you think Royal Caribbean will add longer sailings for Utopia? Flying to the cruise port is not cost effective for a flight hotel for just 3 to 4 days. Well, there's a couple things, Sue Sister, right? And here's what the answer is eventually yes, but not in the short term, obviously. What Royal Caribbean will tell you is a couple things. Number one, of course, if you do a 3-night and a 4-night cruise back to back, you have a 7-night cruise, right? I understand that the itinerary is not as exotic, but 2 times a perfect day ain't bad. Anyway, that's the first part. Number two, Royal Caribbean would say, Sue Sister, we hear you. You want a longer cruise. Icon of the Seas is doing 7-night cruises. That's the ship for you. And that's essentially what they're doing. They're positioned, Royal Caribbean is positioning Utopia and Icon to be the 1-2 punch to dominate the family cruise market so that people like you, Sue Sister, who want a 7-night cruise, will go on Icon. And folks that want a 3-night cruise, because they're probably new to cruising, will pick Utopia. That's their game plan. So will they do longer sailings? I mean, eventually, yes. Every ship eventually moves around. I mean, that's an inevitability. It's a law of physics of cruising. But certainly nothing has been announced to that effect that you can certainly book a plan on at this point. But eventually, I'm sure the answer will be yes. What do we know about so far about Hideaway Beach, and when should we expect more details? Good question. So it's going to be adults only, 16 and above. It's going to be complimentary. I mean, there'll be like pay areas in there, but there's no admission to get in there. And it will open either late December or early January 2020. So late December 23, early January 24. They haven't committed to a date yet, but we don't yet know, like, what does it look like? What's the layout? What features will there be? Royal Caribbean has not announced anything that. When will we know more? We're on a need-to-know basis at this point, and clearly we don't need to know at this point. So, is the internet package worth it, even if I pay the daily cost? Is the connection strong enough? Royal Caribbean has switched over to Starlink. It's been, in my experience, it's been hit or miss, but generally speaking, I think it is worth it. Now, listen, I value highly being on the internet, and when it works, when we were on Navigator, it was better than any cell phone coverage I ever had. It was unbelievably good. But then we were on Wonder of the Seas last year in December, and it was absolutely terrible. So I've had very good and very bad experiences with it. But generally speaking, I do think it's worth the money. And to put that in perspective, when I go on cruises, I book internet packages, although not anymore, because now this is not a flex. I'm just saying that, like, to be in the spirit of transparency, I will not be buying any more internet packages for myself, because as a Pinnacle member now, that's one of the free, we get that for free. But otherwise, I would be paying for it. Can people in the same cabin have different embarkation times? Yes, that has happened, but it's irrelevant. If you're coming in together, if you're all joining together, whoever's the earliest time, that works. They don't really care who's just put the earliest time on top, and you'll be fine because you're in the same cabin. Does the drink package ever go down to 50% off? The answer is it doesn't matter. You can just disregard that thing. And you're saying, what are you talking about, Matt? I'm not made of money. I want the best deal out there. I'm with you on that one. But listen, don't worry about it. My point is, if you want a drink package, book the drink package now, lock in the price. If there's a better deal tomorrow, next week, next year, you can always cancel and rebook, get the best possible price. But if you wait, Cullen, and you say, well, let me see if it does go down or not, the price can go up. And that way, then you're going to end up paying more. So do yourself a favor, book it now, lock it in, the price. And if there's a better price, because it goes down, cancel and rebook very easily on the website. By the way, no matter what the price is online, it will always be cheaper than booking it on board the ship. Going on Oasis in October, how easy is it to tell something is complimentary versus extra charge? Pretty easy off the bat. They're gonna, I mean, in the app, in the Cruise Compass, it indicates that it's an extra charge place. Obviously, when you get there and you see there's a dollar sign next to the, oh, that costs money, it's pretty straightforward that you'll know that. I think you'll have no problem at all identifying that. It's not like, I really can't imagine you'd really sit down at a restaurant and be like, oh, by the way, this costs extra. I mean, they don't say, by the way, welcome to Chops Grill, this costs extra. But, I think you'll know that if it's not the main dining room and it's a sit-down experience, it probably does cost extra there. But again, the Royal Caribbean app and the Cruise Compass both indicate whether or not it costs extra or not. Thank you to everybody for checking us out here on YouTube today. We had a great time. Lots of great supporters. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing with your support. Thank you. Next week, we'll be live again somewhere else on western half of the United States. Not here, but thank you so much for joining us here. We're live each and every Monday here on YouTube. When we're not live, we're over at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy. Stay safe out there. Do something fun. That's important as well. We'll talk again very soon right here on YouTube. Everybody.